talented they are as players. And unfortunately, it doesn't actually solve a lot of the issues that they as a team currently have.
So, solve the issues. What issues are those, Mr.
So,
J?
we only have to look back last week in their game versus G2, and we get to see a few of them. One of the first is that I don't think Broxah is a very independent jungler, and he often only does what his laners need him and want him to do. And if we take this example, you can see that his entire topside jungle is available, and they have vision over Jankos. But because both top laners don't have flash, Fnatic and Bwipo specifically feel that they can set up for a dive. So the only reason why they make this play is because they think they can win the 2 versus 2. But then they set up for the dive, they don't do it.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you're just wasting a lot of time here if you are Broxah helping him try to push in the wave. But ultimately, this idea of being the ultimate teammate for Broxah is a double-edged sword because it's something we praised him so much for in the spring split, where he was always helping his lanes push out, always protecting against dives when big waves were building up, and you must be able to make those plays happen, otherwise it just results in wasted time and wasted resources.
And that's one of the issues. This is another one. The coin flip player of Hylissang seems to be back. I thought that they had removed this issue in the past, but based on some of the split performances we've seen from him, only in the last few weeks, we see that he is pretty inconsistent in his ability to set up plays, and he can be both the best and worst support player in Europe at the same time. And Fnatic need to solve these issues because this was a team that was sitting in the World Finals last year. And if they want to be challenging, let alone for the World Finals, but even the European title, these issues will stop them with the likes of G2 and Splice standing in their way.
And do you believe this team can solve those problems and improve upon their spring split position?
No.
There you have it. We'll see if Fnatic want to show something new tonight as we head over to our casters.
Betty is hitting him with the quick no there. That's an extreme reaction. But thank you, Quickshot. I'm Dracos. This is Frostgurren. And we're going to be talking about League of Legends tonight, as is the trend here at the LEC. And I'm going to be honest, folks. We're also on the side. We have both predicted Excel to win this game.
I was curious where you were going with this.
If you want to boo, you can, Fnatic fans. I know you're here tonight. There you go. Thank you. You guys are the best. Even when you're like, you're awesome. Thank you.
I'll take it from here. So the stakes going into this game. On one side, we have Fnatic. They're attempting to fine-tune their form into playoffs. Everyone keeps leveraging them at the draft. I don't think it's because they can't play anything else, but if it's broke, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And on the other side, the clock is about to strike midnight for a possible Cinderella run from Excel. So this is what we're looking at heading into this draft phase.
High stakes for both teams, of course. Hard to count Fnatic in the top 2 now, but this week could change that story. The Kiana immediately taken away, not wanting to give that over to the side of Excel, and I think no surprise to see the Sejuani taken away too, as Kadril has been so prolific on the champion, but with Karma taken off the board, Rekkles might have to show us something new this time around.
I was curious what kind of blueprint Excel would look at for Fnatic's draft phase, because it feels like Fnatic haven't figured out. Everyone knows what champions they're going to go for, but I expected them to actually take the G2 route and to try to focus out Hilly. It's usually trying to ban away things like the Rakan and the Pyke to take away these playmaking champions from Hilly, but instead they're going the other side of that. They're taking the Karma away and the Rakan. Karma's so important because it allows Hilly to break free from the lane and to roam towards that mid lane. This means that Rekkles has to reach for something else. Usually it's the Ezreal, it could also be the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, Ezreal, of course, notorious for that safety. You can leave him alone just about anywhere and everything will work out fine, but no surprise with Corki and Azir both up that the Corki will be picked up and prioritized by Fnatic, something Nemesis has been quite proficient at thus far, but we'll have to see how Excel responds. They're not really under pressure to take the Azir at this point, seeing the Corki out on the other side, and something like the Renekton would be incredibly aggressive, would dissuade an Akali pick, but just honestly isn't really in the wheelhouse of Fnatic from what we've seen so far.
Normally in this rotation, you see something like Aatrox, Jarvan. There's one of them. I expect a Jarvan priority to come through pretty high up here, especially since Sejuani is banned. Jarvan's kind of the #2 go-to jungler.
Taking their sweet time, though, this time around. Excel really debating what exactly they want their options to be. Of course, taking the Aatrox away already a nice champion in general, very powerful in the current meta, but additionally a take away from Bwipo in terms of overall comfort. And they're going to make that second pick a flex pick, trying to open up some options in the draft for themselves and hide a bit of information from Fnatic.
Yeah, double flex, reminder that Sylas can also be triple flex and go into Kadril's hand within that jungle. The thing is I really wanted Kadril to be on a pick that has a lot of agency that will be able to skirmish and duel, and it feels like, depending on matchup, Sylas doesn't get a lot of that agency with some of the champions left available for Broxah to turn to.
And that's a difficult position to be in, because very often when we see Excel take over the game, it very usually starts with Kadril moving to one of his solo lanes. But ladies and gentlemen, you want a little bit more. I know we were all left a little unsatisfied with that Tomcat performance last time we saw Hylissang on the stage. I feel like today might just be a different story with the power of the pike in his hands. And if you are Excel, you have to be nervous because the top side has been how you've been winning games. The bottom side, it's a lot of playmaking already on the side of Fnatic.
But if you're Excel, you know it's coming. You know if Hilly doesn't have Rakan that he's going to go for the pike. You know that Broxah has a terrifying Lee Sin. So this shouldn't be any surprise to Excel. And now my question is, what plan do you have for it? Mystique's his most played champion is the likes of Tahm Kench. If he tries to play Kench into the pike lane, that's going to be a bad time.
That is definitely going to be a bad time, and it might be why we're seeing the Nautilus hover. I expect we will see that one locked in. It is now locked down, but as we enter the second ban phase, the question on your mind, audience, might just be what exactly is Reckless going to play here? What will he pull out?
Ban away the safe 80 carries. I want to see them take away maybe the Tristana, possibly the Ezreal. Like, if Hilly's going to go on Pike, make it Hilly really choose that if he leaves Reckless, that Reckless can actually be punished for that. That said, I feel like there's a little bit too many ADCs because Reckless could also go towards the likes of the Xayah if he wants and still be very safe in lane.
The Sivir as well, something we don't see quite as frequently, but always something that he has had in his back pocket. Kai'Sa, however, will be the ban, taken away from Jesco on the bottom side of the map. And the Mordekaiser, and after the performance we saw in the previous game, the sheer amount of damage that can come out from this pick, not surprised to see it eliminated.
And I love gathering more information on the Mordekaiser. I think for me, it's really out how powerful this champion is. His ability to just ult a jungler when you're trying to contest for a Baron is astronomical, so I think he actually scales particularly well in that sense. So as Mordekaiser has now been re-enabled, I'm really curious how he'll move up into priority for teams to grab. Oh, the twist fate.
Yeah, interesting. All right, so respecting the potential for a Corki flex to put that into the hands of Reckless, the Twisted Fate, of course, a Nemesis special, very used to him being put on that champion so far this split.
That means that Reckless is going to have his pick of the litter of any of the safe ADCs that he needs to, again, unlock Hilly, allow Hilly to impact that mid lane.
And now the debate comes in. What exactly is going to be the final ban from Fnatic? The Jarvan, a pick that you mentioned earlier in the draft, Frostgorn, will now be taken away. It looks like Fnatic not entirely confident that Sylas is going into the jungle position, respecting the potential for a flex here, but the Lucian now locked in. Lucian Nautilus, an incredibly aggressive bot lane, kind of threatening Fnatic. Hey, if you were going to pick something like an Ezreal, we are still willing to go all in to dominate the bottom side of the map. Fnatic might not be afraid. They might just take the challenge here.
Yeah, but that means Reckless needs to be on top form if he locks this in. Obviously, he has a lot of disengage options here, but if one of those hooks connects, if post level 6, Mystique's has access to the ultimate, and that's also then the river control and priority that a lane like Lucian and Nautilus can give them. That's a right turn.
That is a twist. Okay, we wanted to see more, and it looks like we are seeing more. Cassio, where is it going to go? Where will it end up? Is this a pick for Nemesis or a pick for Reckless? Now, long time since we've seen a Reckless Corki, but would be interesting to see it back in his hands. Taking the time, though, on this final option. Blippo's Aatrox taken off the board. They have some information on where these flexes are going to go, but the final pick will commit it. And, of course, when push comes to shove, it's been the Aatrox first recently, but the gang playing for Blippo is a classic. Talked about it a lot on Euphoria. Said it's basically a tank pick. You sit there, you survive, and eventually you're relevant.
You also get incredible access to cross-map control once you're level 6 and you have that ultimate. Usually when you see a GP come in, it can work really well on very aggressive bot lanes. And then once you're that level 6, for when you're fighting over Dragon priority bot lane, you have that ultimate, you threaten it, you go, you just run your jungler down there, and then you transition into Dragon control.
Woo! This is what I love to see, folks. See, hate it in solo queue, love it on the LEC stage. This is going to be a spicy game. We got new picks on the side of Fnatic, the Corki going to the bot lane, the Cassio going into the mid lane. And how do they decide to deal with it? They throw the Yasuo up against it, Mickey's Yasuo. And after his Aurelia performance last week, this is a man that you have to respect in the mid lane.
It's one of the most banned champions against Excel, so obviously something's been popping off in scrims that people are respecting the fact that if Mickey did get his hands on Yasuo, that he'd be able to work with it. That said, when you have the likes of a Yasuo, you do need to give it attention. So I'm looking at Kadril, looking between his Lucian, his Nautilus, and his Yasuo, and bouncing between there. But you know, maybe he goes for an early Krug rotation, looks for an early gank on the Aatrox GP lane.
I do want to follow up on something you said as we look at this. Fnatic, I know this playmaking. I know Hylissang, I know Brox, I know what Blippo looks like on a GP. I've seen it before, but Kadril, you talked about it. Want to see a jungler where you can early skirmish. You said Sylas is sometimes that, sometimes he's not. Against Lee Sin, is this a situation where Kadril can be that proactive player?
I feel like this is a situation where if Lee Sin finds you first, he can destroy you.
All eyes on the jungle matchup early game, no doubt. Fnatic versus Excel. Going to be an absolute bloodbath. Earlier in the split, there would have been no doubt in my mind that this was a free win for Fnatic, but Excel have been rising, and well, Fnatic have faltered in recent weeks, but can set the record straight with a win today. All eyes on both sides. The Cinderella story, Frosker, and you talked about it. Potential for Excel to make it to playoffs, but for now, Fnatic still the... Cut off in the midst of my elaborate monologue, but here we are, folks. Fnatic versus Excel. Frosk, jungle matchup. We talk about it every time. Since no one's going to kill each other level 1, I want to hit it again. What are you looking at?
So for the champions, I want to hold it, because actually there seems to be some level 1 shenanigans.
But of course, Brox and Cadril. And some Excel chance.
Okay, Broxa versus Cadril. These are both very explosive junglers. I do want to echo what Vedius and Ender were talking about on the analyst desk, because I agree with them. I think Broxa is a type of guy where he's a brute force jungler, but he sacrifices a lot of his own advantages in terms of farming his camps for forcing ganks. And it's kind of like a 1 step forward, 2 step back. If they get the gank off and it works, and you know that it's normally going to because their mechanical ability is so high, it looks great for Fnatic, and they start snowballing ahead. If it doesn't work, then Broxa has wasted that much time, and he falls that much farther behind, which is why I feel like Fnatic are still very polarizing in their identity, and it centers with their jungler.
See if Whipple can get any information on the early jungle pathing, maybe look to give Brox that edge so that he can put those resources back in the jungle. And more importantly, as we talk about the pressure on Brox to impact his lanes, eyes on what Cadril can do to match a Lee Sin in this early game. Definitely not a duel I'd ever love to take, but maybe Cadril has something special here, as Broxa will be spotted out by this vision. That's going to be incredibly crucial, trying to split the map up and isolate the bottom lane.
You'll often see this with junglers like the Jarvan, the Lee Sin, the Gragas, these junglers that can get over walls early on. It's simply to catch buff-to-buff rotations, and you see immediately Cadril's walking down. Brox is like, no. They have first access to the bot lane because the leash happened from Reckless and Hilly on Brox's camp, so the wave priorities for Jessica and Mystiques, and Broxa doesn't want to try his hand there.
No reason to take the risk at this stage. Obviously, for now, the matchup might be pretty favorable for the Lee Sin, but can't go catastrophically wrong if you let a Sylas at the jungle start snowballing. We've seen it before. And then the mid lane, Cassio, as expected in the first level, able to pressure in Mickey level 2. Things might start to change here. Obviously, Cassio champion that has fallen out of favor, but recently received some buffs. Much easier to just throw that miasma at her feet, stop Yasuo from being able to pursue.
And I do want to talk about the fact that they swapped Corki into the bot lane. Again, we're looking for champions that can have long-range safety to pick up the CS, that can disengage themselves with things like the Valkyrie. So I feel like this Corki pick is still ticking a lot of the boxes that Reckless needed of a champion down here when Hilly decides to unlock himself from this lane.
And we see those same boxes tick in the mid lane, so it makes a lot of sense that they would opt to go for this on the bottom side of the map. And good to see, once again, more in the Fnatic toolkit that they are willing to flex a pick like this Corki.
And Corki itself is just such a powerful pick. Post 6, once he has access to rockets, he can force you off of virtually any objective. He has great scaling. He fits into majority of team comps. It's not just about Corki's push power that we keep talking about why he's such a prominent feature into the meta, but just about how terrifying he is with his range control once it is in late game.
And I mean, we saw last game. The sheer amount of damage that can come out of this champion when it's properly supported and played around is astonishing. Cassio's a similar champion to a certain degree, but we've been here before. We've seen what Reckless can do when Fnatic is playing around him, when they are willing to set him up. We'll have to see if that's the strategy they want to go for. But for now, it is Hylissang already roaming on the pike, already fishing for these early objectives. And maybe solo taking the scuttle crab.
He's prepping it for when Broxa rotates. And it was because Reckless took a reset there. You can see that Reckless now has a Fairy Charm in his back pocket very early by. It's going to help him out to continue to bully in this lane. And Hilly was just like, I don't need to back. I can actually cover for Nemesis in case he gets ganked because the wave was central. And also start off this scuttle crab for Broxa.
Checking in across the board, Hylissang now moving down to the bottom side. Brox is here as well. Vision comes down, will sweep out the ward. They obviously know all 3 members are here. Excel are playing back, giving a bit of respect. Over to the opposite side, Jessica hitting the level 4. A bit ahead of schedule as far as Fnatic's concerned. They're going to hit it on the back of this wave. will even things out once again. But Brock's spending a lot of time around the bottom side of the map. It's been a while since we've kind of seen him here. More often than not, it's Hylissang leaving the bottom side to set Fnatic up for plays.
I mean, there's not a lot of options for him right now. He's mostly going to be farming and then playing for control at this point. Until Hilly is, again, still fishing into that bottom river, then Broxa can join him. But you still want to see this Lee Sin teaming up with this Pyke when you have something like a Cassio and a GP in your other lanes.
And the all-in is already happening in the mid lane. You can see how devastating the grounded effect was. Mickey wanted to just get in and get out on that trade. Has the Conqueror, so extending trade isn't a bad thing, and it is going to make it over the wall. Kadril now pursuing Nemesis. Nemesis running for his life. The Conqueror is proc. Nemesis with a quick flash over. Kadril flashing to follow. Abscond of Duck. Where's it going to go? Tries to fade away, but he doesn't get it. Nemesis with the sidestep. Kadril with a bit of overconfidence, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is a recipe for survival.
But that was a flash-for-flash trade on the Cassiopeia. So again, if that wave ever gets out of control for Nemesis and he has to overextend for it, he's going to force Fnatic to respond to him to get him back to a safe point because Mickey's still running Ignite and he wants to go for the all-in.
Kadril has to be careful, though. Hylissang is here as well. The chain CC starts to come in. Now Kadril, he pays the price for that one. Cost him his life. And Hylissang, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't mention this to you because I wanted to be a surprise, but 2,500 assists, the most in LEC history.
Surprise, you walked into Fnatic's jungle, ran into Hilly and died.
That's, I don't think, surprising to anyone. That happens quite frequently in Fnatic games. And of course, you guys can check out his pro view if you want to celebrate with him. He didn't know ahead of his game. I told him about it in the makeup room, and I promised him a party hat graphic. So there you are, Hilly. Yay! Pure joy!
So on this reset, because they killed Kadril, Broxa knows that he has time while Kadril would have to respawn from his death timer and then walk back in, that he can start this dragon, especially with priority bot. Hilly in trouble, though.
Trying to heal.
He's going to inch out of it.
Bone plating. Yeah. Power of the Pyke there. We'll take him out to safety, losing vision, of course. But now Broxa needs to be careful. Mickey stepping forward. A knockup from the E will not be enough.
Yeah, you need to use the back door on that exit there. Well done by Broxa, though. Secures the Infernal, and Hilly managed to get away with his life.
And already it feels like we are playing very much a Fnatic game.
But now at this point, we're going to expect Hilly to start unlocking himself some more. So we've had the initial backs. You have now mana regen, or the tier picked up for Nemesis, excuse me. So he's going to feel a lot more confident into this lane. But you saw it before, he doesn't have the flash, he wants to sit back, and it's just about the wave clear. And until the wave is in a bad situation, this is when Hilly and Broxa will show up to save the day. So he's trying to bait right now, he's looking delicious.
He's trying to buy a bit more time, has burned it, has the wind wall. We'll just block the hook there. Good exchange, obviously a very long cooldown, a small window to punish, but one that Fnatic could look to exploit. Bwipo already with the cannon barrage, can look towards the mid lane. For now, as the team is going to back off, you can see Mystique's freed up from the bottom side of the map, maybe looking to make a play here. A lot of tools to set up this Yasuo, something that's always crucial to have. If Yasuo isn't in a lane, can't reliably stack up that tornado, can't keep things going. And of course, for Excel, it's a lackluster start, but still, the stakes remain ever high for the team.
Mystique's really needs to check that brush. There he goes. Third time's the charm. Now he doesn't want to clean it because Yasuo exited the mid lane. He cheated or leaned towards the top side, so now Mystique doesn't feel safe walking up to it, but Mystique's actually losing a lot of time just walking back and forth in this brush, trying to force this gank.
He is really trying. He is very much committed. Broxa will now try to make a play on the top side, of course, spotted out by a good bit of proactive vision here. Both plays red. You can see two sort of wards that grant a little bit of vision over the respective walls there, giving good information for some creative gank pass that could come through from Broxa. But Mickey now moving up to top side. Very much has to be careful here. Mystique and Jessica's going to fish on a Reckless. This is going to be big. Reckless now backing up, and that's a lot of damage! Jessica finding the kill. Hylissang just going to dash out to safety, but that is not at all what Fnatic wanted.
Mystique's has been hunting, but meanwhile, the information, Excel are now closing in on top side. Looks like they don't want to take it. Bwipo does have access to both Flash and his ultimate, so you have to think that that's enough to dissuade Excel from an aggressive dive.
Ooh, but now potentially steal an ultimate here from Kadril is going to make the setup a lot easier. Obviously very difficult to dive a GP, especially with grass as well as the oranges. And Bwipo smells it coming, does not hesitate to just immediately use the ultimate there to clear the wave.
But Bwipo absorbing a lot of time and pressure, so it's merely good job from Mystique to make sure that Excel got something with their time on the map right there by managing to grab Reckless. But he uses the TP, he now has access to the package, so he has priority of the bot lane, he immediately shoves it in.
Something I'm just not used to seeing. A Corki on the bottom side, of course, with the package here. and a very big threat to ball in with Hylissang as level 6 as well. Of course, Pyke ult nerfed in some ways on the most recent patch. If it's not an execute, it does basically nothing. But if he does execute, he's going to be making mad bank. And this might just be it. A lot of immediate damage coming in. Jessica, though, not afraid to fight back. Broxy now coming, the Colin coming out, but little does he know, Sonic Wave, resonating strike, and a quick kill for Broxa.
And that's the difference between the backs. Jessica still has access to his TP. He thought he could stay for the wave, but Fnatic just force it and make it clean.
Oh, budget GP, gonna dash his way out of the bot side of the map. Of course, nice thing for Cajal is he can't put that ult anywhere. Mystique's very bold positioning on the bottom side of the map, but both sides will back off. And if the Fnatic are able to get something back, Broxy continuing to snowball and staying even in jungle CS as well. Very good look for Fnatic.
So the next objective we're going to be looking towards is going to be the second Infernal spawning in 125. Jessica now feeling better that he's finally got his back here, but we should start to see how Fnatic are setting up for this. In fact, as I say that though, they're doing the on-the-way pings and swapping sides towards the Rift Herald. So maybe they think that they could grab this in the duration where Cajal and crew will probably be expending a lot of their force to control bot side river. Yeah, they're just moving completely out of the area.
Of course, Dragon's still a minute away after they took the previous one after Broxa snuck it away, so smart proactive play from Fnatic to find that objective, to find this window of opportunity. Yasuo now moving up, Cajal now moving up, but a good ward in the mid lane will spot them coming. 3k health and dropping. Of course, the Scribe's Boom is going to hit. Cajal can look for the steal, but no smite available for him at this stage, so very easy for Fnatic just to grab that one. Well played.
I also really like this when you take stock of the rest of the summoners on the map. The fact that Whippo doesn't have ultimate, didn't have TP, but Expect did, and every time we see Excel really snowball ahead, it's usually like a bottom play with Excel having Expect TP in. I like the fact that Fnatic said, we're not even going to bother with this, we're instead going to go for the Rift Herald. They do, however, lose a ton of plates down here, so now they need to make sure that they can get control back over this Infernal.
Alrighty, Fnatic moving down, instantly clearing the vision out. Keeping an eye on the backs. Reckless, of course, with no TP, and they are just immediately going to engage on a Hylissang, though.
Well, that's not going to help them control the area.
Absolutely is not. And Excel kind of smelling that one coming, seeing the setup coming through, expecting Hylissang to be there, and just a good read overall. Of course, Hylissang giveth and Hylissang taketh away. A lot of those circumstances, but Broxton now going for a bit of a hero play here. Won't cost him too much to try for the contest, but will not be able to get it in time. Control ward burned, Dragon secured by the side of Excel, and the gold is just about dead even to the Herald. Really the only big advantage that Fnatic currently hold.
And that was Excel just recognizing that they had the push in the bottom lane, so they had early access to river. They walked through their control vision. That has been set up the entire time while Fnatic went towards the top side of the map for the Rift Herald. And frankly, Hilly should have just walked in from his own lane through getting priority over the bot lane rather than trying to flank.
He's going to do what he can to hold, however. As you mentioned.
Plates for Corki. It's delicious.
Yeah, you can see him just walk forward there, just make sure he gets it. Knockup's there, Mickey will not follow, but Mystique's is on the way. And I think we're still waiting to see the Yasuo pop off. Now, the Yasuo is not far behind yet, which is good news, but have yet to see it really do much of anything. Static Shiv, obviously, first item that's really going to allow him to be a bit more proactive.
But at this point, we want to park the Corki into the mid lane, start funneling a lot of his farm, and expecting to be careful.
All for all traded, expect taking a lot of damage there. Will not be able to use the improved healing, and ooh, Hylissang smells blood in the water. He is moving his way up to the top side.
Yeah, because Fnatic have control of the mid lane, so they're constantly going to be cheating and roaming with their mid laner. In this instance, it's still the Corki, but it's Reckless piloting him. They force Expect off the tower, and maybe a free kill?
Oh, Expect just... That was clean. Hits the knockup, dodges out on the death from below, and will now be able to make it out of that one. That has to feel bad for Hylissang.
But we're actually in a race for the first tower. You can see that Lucian bottom was shoving it down, takes it, and that's what Fnatic were trying to do, was to force the tower to go down for them.
And most other players, I would just let you finish your point, but every time Hylissang goes, look, you just have this feeling.
He's
you
always
don't want to be the
fishing
guy
for it.
who misses it. Fnatic will grab a tower. Excel, of course, grabbing one on the bottom side. Now they're moving up to the top side to contest a bit. Some free time for Yasuo in the mid lane. Looks like Nemesis will be solo taking the blue buff. And the TP now coming top side. Hylissang and Whippo are going to be in trouble. Mystique's just going to throw out the ultimate. The knockup comes through. The lockdown. More damage coming in, but Whippo's still trying to make his way out. Broxa Mages look for the disengage, but there's the kick coming in. It's stolen away. Cajal will not need to use it. Broxa now running, dashing out to safety. Will use the ward hop to make it out, and only a single kill for Excel in exchange for that TP.
Yeah, they commit a lot to pick up the kill. It shouldn't equate to too much, and I think they actually need to get back in position to cover their mid lane, because Fnatic could, or should respawn and start running towards the mid, which is why I think Excel are pushing down into Fnatic's jungle, placing the vision. Yeah, you can get some free chip damage onto this tower, but you expect Fnatic to start stacking into the mid lane.
Definitely do. Of course, tower plates are now gone, so Jessica will not get the benefit of having even more gold funneled into him.
This is Fnatic just overreaching. They should have immediately backed.
Oh, we're trading plays, Rosker, and that's all it's going to be. It's the kick flash for Broxa, all too clean, but it's not going to matter. Jessica once again finds the outplay. His life will be forfeit in the end, but the 1-for-1.
But what is he doing there?
I mean, they TP'd in.
We like ejected out of the replay because Jessica decided to be super greedy and hang around that top side. I was like, Fnatic should probably just walk it into the mid lane. That's the tower that they really want. And instead, Jessica's just hanging out top. Free lunch.
Going on a walkabout, having a good time. And I mean, in his defense, Proskar, I know you're not pleased with him, but he got the 1-for-1.
Oh no, I mean, good job for him getting the 1-for-1, but he still died.
We'll have to see. Maybe Cado's going to fit short play as well, but the knockback is there. Very easy to burst the Silas out at this point. They don't want to commit for anything else. The knockup immediately connects. Clean pickup. Mickey now can chase. The Conqueror has been blocked.
Here comes Nemesis.
Whippo trying to push for this play, going to be pretty massive. Mickey not going to be able to grab it. The dash through. The EQ flash! He lands it! He goes through. Mickey's feeling himself. He might just find the outplay. The knockup comes through. Mickey, I can't believe it. That was clean. Yasuo, EQ flash to extend the range, finds the knockup and finds the kill.
And that's why you see Mickey's Yasuo so respected the ban phase. So many teams make sure that he doesn't get a hold of this champion. We've seen him flex on the Aurelia, and now you're seeing him flex on his Yasuo. And meanwhile, all of this time is spent that Excel now get to roll this tower in and catch out Broxa.
Not connects, tries to find the blast cone, will not even happen. Fnatic, it felt like they were control early on, but XL now building a gold lead for themselves, almost 1,000 in the lead. Definitely have the momentum in the mid lane, but can they get anything else for it? Jessica and Mystique's moving forward onto this wave, but Reckless, more than enough in the kit to stop anything else from happening.
We just need to calm down a little bit.
I'm sorry, I saw a really sick Yasuo outplay and I'm just losing my mind. And Hylissang, ooh, clean hook, stun, follow-up. Cado's gonna make it out safety. The Ignite burned, I think, a bit prematurely, but Nemesis is on the way down. Cassio not available quite yet, but can't ground his opponent. It's gonna make it a little bit more difficult to find a way. Mystique's now pulled back. Hylissang looking for that sweet, sweet money, and he's gonna find it.
We heard Mickey talk about how he believes that while it was a nerf on Pyke top lane, it felt like a massive buff to support Pyke because there's just that much more gold to go around. So you have to think, did Excel choose the right champion, taking away the Rakan when Hilly's Pyke is still up and available? When you look at this instance, you're like, yeah, totally worth. But he's still cashing in as Excel are getting caught out in this jungle.
And honestly, at this point, I was pretty convinced Mickey was gonna win.
This is
and then
clean.
at this point, I was convinced Mickey is gonna die. Let me see if he gets it. E, Q, oh! Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't play Yasuo, you're just gonna be like, that just seems like dumb Yasuo stuff to me. But if you do play Yasuo, that was sick. So, sorry, had to pop off.
It's okay. It was clean.
Good look overall now. We check in. 30,400 gold for the side of Fnatic and steadily growing. Jessica, though, interestingly enough, the highest grossing member in this game. 17 minutes in, it is 2 Infernal Drakes, but Excel now pushing in for control over this cloud. Will get pulled back, though, so they can push for that as well. Grounded, Expect comes over the wall. Big Aatrox in the midst of the team. That's going to zone the rest of the members down. Expect staying full health, but locked up, but stunned down. The blast cone takes him into enemy territory. He will be killed. Blippo will find that one. Hylissang now ready to re-engage. Broxa trying to fish, trying to find the opportunity. Stolen away Cassio. He goes in right back. They want to turn it, and that's massive damage, but it's just an absolute bloodbath here. Excel are losing. Jessica is slowed, and that's going to cost him his life. The double kill for Blippo. The triple kill for Blippo.
And the fact is that Fnatic were kiting back and they never broke the front line. Reckless and Whippo are just blowing them up through the long-range barrels as well as the rockets. And unless Excel can use their assassins like their Yasuo or their Aatrox and break that backline, Fnatic were just able to front to back walk them through that team fight. Which is crazy because Fnatic didn't have priority over mid or bot lane when that started.
No, and I'm excited to look back on that replay. I think the exact moment where Nemesis chooses to use the Cassio ult is brilliant, and can't wait to see it again. But for now, this has been an absolute trade of blows, except we were even on gold moments ago, and now it's a 3K gold lead for Fnatic.
That is one of my favorite things about Cassio whenever she's in a composition, is her ability to protect long range on the backline, because if you ever dive in, she just Cassio ults you. And again, having Reckless on the Corki, and Corki being so devastating with his range advantage is disgusting.
And additionally, when the person diving into your backline is a champion like Aatrox, he locks his facing direction when he throws out the Darkened Blade. Mystique's though going to fish for the play, now walking, tanking it up, but it's a pretty easy setup now for the last breath. Shut down onto Blippo. Very clean tower diving, takes a lot of damage on the back end, but Sal's still fishing. Chill's trying to set stuff up. Broxa though, coming in, looking for the rest of the play. Hylissang on the way as well. No TPs on the side of Fnatic. Not sure if Reckless currently has the package.
No, they're just coming to respond to this. Someone is going to have to also respond to this Aatrox, however, so we need people to start clearing out their waves, putting the map in a more neutralized state, and then setting up the next objective.
And looking back, ooh, this is a fight. Frosco, run me through it.
Again, at this point, I'm like, okay, this is actually really scary for Fnatic because Excel could actually just walk mid and try to force down that tower, but they look for the fight. Fnatic kite it back and then turn it around.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you're expecting a full replay in this game, you're not going to get one because both of these teams are absolutely determined to fight. We're 16 kills, 20 minutes into the game. It almost feels like both sides are disappointed that we haven't hit a kill a minute.
Things should stall out a little bit, however, double word, as we're, again, clearing out the wave,
Ooh,
so
no,
it was
we are going to get to watch it.
round 2.
A good knockup from Mickey. You can check here. Dark and Blade comes out. Immediate Cassie wall. Really good play from Nemesis there.
Yeah, delays expect from doing massive damage on backline. He was the only guy that reached them. Excel got split in this jungle. And then at this point, again, yeah, they find Cassio, but it's only on Nemesis. Cassio. That sounds really awkward to say.
The Cassio
Thank
on
you,
the
Silas.
Cassio, of course.
The Cassio on the Cassio.
Classic, sure.
And then you're still dealing with the fact that Gangplank and Reckless are putting out ridiculous amounts of damage.
All right, production team. I had a point, but I got distracted by the picture of Xerxes there. He's really excited about this game, guys. He absolutely is. He'll be up next. Our match of the week, Splice vs. OG. Ender will be joining us for that TriCast. But in the meantime, as we check in on the game, very scrappy fights. Fnatic with a clear gold lead, but nothing really decisive at this stage. Breaking down the mid lane tower, good for both teams. And Fnatic holding on the top side, also nice as Baron becomes more and more likely to be the big focus for both of these squads.
Now it's about fighting over who can get access to the river first to deny and clear out a lot of that vision. Whippo is really big on this Gangplank that I think it's going to force Expect to constantly look for roam. And since they force the wave in, Excel are grouped up early here, but they still need to really respect this Gangplank ult, even if Whippo's not there to join the fight initially.
And he has the TP as well, so just when we look across the board, Global's up on both sides. Mickey, of course, has opted for the Ignite in the mid lane, so Fnatic, in theory, will have a teleport advantage once that cooldown comes back up for Nemesis. But that is a lot of Cassio damage.
It's just really dangerous because if Excel can almost never start the Baron, they have to play either like the tower game or the pick game, because if they ever start it, again, Whippo doesn't have to be there. Between Corki and Gangplank just dropping the ultimates on them, they'll just destroy them on the pick. So Excel are like hovering around the Baron, but it's more so, again, to gain access and control over the river to take down things like that top tower, rather than ever finding an opportunity to turn, unless Fnatic absolutely mess up their back timers and are nowhere near to stop it.
And as we look at the scaling on both sides here, Frostburn, the Corki gets scarier and scarier. The Cassio gets scarier and scarier. Gangplank gets scarier, and I just feel like Fnatic are just going to pretty much outscale across the board. The difference, of course, is in the jungle position. See what Cadril can do with those stolen ultimates. But for now, Whippo might actually be the one in trouble. Jesper, though, taking a lot of damage. Not respecting the attempt for Gangplank to come through here and just find a kill. Whippo will get one in the exchange, but that's going to be the stolen pike ult. Cadril will find the refresh. 1 for 1 in the end. Definitely Jesper biting off more than he can chew.
Forces the flash, manages to take him down. We'll see if Whippo gets burned for not having his flash in a later fight. But that kill does mean that Fnatic, again, get the shove onto mid lane. They get to walk into this dragon. The Scuttle Crab looks like it might dissuade them. Maybe not. They drop the control ward.
Despite appearances otherwise, you can't walk around that little circle.
I think it's the time that it would take to burn down the Baron, and because enough members of Excel are up, it dissuades them while Expect is also pushing down on this tower.
Good that Excel is, or Expect rather, is pushing for something, stopping Fnatic from getting anything else, because the other strength of this composition, Cassio, of course, is notorious, just Baron Destroyer. Can't really give Fnatic the opportunity to be left alone. Steaks will try to step there on the hook. Fnatic now setting their sights on it, have kicked this one off. Backs coming in, you can see canceled now. Eyes on the TP from Expect. Will he come to this fight? Mickey needs to make it in, but they're shredding through this Baron. A little too quickly. Backing off, though, half health. It will reset. Fnatic do not want to commit.
Yeah, this is actually really dangerous from Fnatic if it doesn't go right. Whippo's level 15, so why not just wait until your GP's level 16, has all 3 points into the ultimate, and has the cooldown up and available. Because, yeah, he has TP, but GP kind of likes to be to teams first, or to fights first, so he can set up his barrels, rather than to TP into them.
And honestly, just good news for Excel that they have these resources, that they did push Fnatic out, because the Mount Drake spawning is ideal for this team. Less because they needed it, more because taking away from the Cassio is crucial. But Fnatic have a brief window of power here as they reset. The Corki package comes through. We'll take a look back at this previous play. Jeskla versus Blippo. One-on-one fight to the death. GP, 2-level advantage.
I honestly didn't know which replay it was going to be. I was like, which skirmish is this one?
And you gotta...
I mean, flashing into the melee range to make sure that he also gets the auto attacks. I obviously didn't dodge any of the culling, but got the kill.
And that's raw confidence coming from Blippo. Knew he wasn't going to make it out of that situation. The second that Nautilus ult came out, he knew he was dead. Fully commits to play. Does cost him his flash, which is less than ideal, but now big fight potential to break out. That is the package. Huge opportunity in the game. Playing all this coming down. Mystiques is going to try to go back in and expect on the backside. They also there with the knock. They're trying to find the reset. But Yasuo's instantly deleted. He just cannot survive in the midst of all that damage. Just on the outside, he's just looking into this fight, watching his team be obliterated. A freeze frame. Cadril contemplates his option, and he knows death. The only thing left on the table, the reactivation on the Sonic Wave, but he'll get it. Mid-flank, Broxta will go down. A clean play might just stop the Baron from Fnatic.
Yeah, I think that might be the only saving grace here for Excel, the fact that they don't have Broxta and Fnatic can't immediately turn towards the Baron. Just speaking to this comp, though, it is so difficult and frustrating to play against. The fact that Gangplank and Corki can do so much damage to you before a teamfight really even begins. Because you still see that Excel are, finding these knockups, they're getting in, but their health bars are just deleted. Really good ultimate here from GP, because while he starts out doing damage, like, look at how much damage Cadril has to take just to kind of walk back into the fight. It split up Excel, and the fight was over before they even decided to turn it around. Broxta overreaches here.
And you talk about the sheer amount of damage. Of course, Broxta does get taken out, but...
He's like, I'm probably going to die. Maybe I can take this guy out with me. I think was the thinking there.
He's like, if I kill your jungler, my team can definitely take the Baron. But it's interesting when you watch that fight, because normally Yasuo, you'd think, hey, against a champion like Cassio, like Corki, surely he can mitigate a lot of that damage, but he died before he even hit the ground on the back of Last Breath. Just too much power on this Fnatic side, and Hylissang, once again, fishing the pike, an appropriate champion. Jeskla has to be careful, but as is Cadril, going to try to dash out to safety. The Corki ult stolen, buys a bit more time, manages to finish his Onions, but is still going to go down. Jungler gone means Fnatic have priority on the Baron.
Healy is just spoon-feeding Fnatic these kills. I think that's the third person that he's caught out, and then now it turns into a massive numbers disadvantage for Excel. Their only option is to try to fight this or stall it.
And try to stall. The dream for a Yasuo combo into the third stack of the Darkened Blade is still alive, but Mickey, not what he wanted, tries to build the 1-wall, tries to buy a bit more time, goes golden, but Hylissang goes down, Expect wants to disengage desperately, the ult goes back in, Excel eventually taking the fight, the kick to disengage is beautiful, Broxta buys a bit more time, Jeskla fishing for the 1v1, but Papa will not let it happen. He may just be the sacrificial pirate to ensure that his team can make it out to safety, but Reckless will not leave a man behind, and they're turning the fight. Fnatic managed to do it, Jeskla has to run for the hills.
And Corki and Gangplank, again, still so frustrating. And it looks so cool. You see Mickey get these hero moments. You can see that Excel still have so much fight in them, the potential for the Wombo combo. It looks amazing as they try to turn. And then it's like, uh-oh, we didn't find the target. Too many of these champions do damage that even when we find one, there's still massive kill threat from the rest of the Fnatic members. Look at that damage!
And a clean kick to disengage, and I think just not respecting Whippo at this point. He does have an IE. He does a ton of damage, and Jeskla leaves. He's afraid of getting one shot. Whippo literally has the golden gun. He's basically hacking 64 gold in that. This man could, oh my god, I can't believe he already has an IE. That's so much money. And so much damage, 14.3k. Whippo is so,
A single
5K.
barrel will just destroy all of Excel.
There's the Flame Horizon, which is 100 CS. Is 5k gold beat the Blippo Horizon? Because this is really, really gross.
And again, the scaling potential. This is dire situation for Excel.
The pullback is there. Expect caught out for a bit of time.
Oh god, the barrel.
Putting him to the meat grinder. There is nothing left. Mystique now tries to run for the hills. Broxta goes in. Has to be careful though. Still a pretty squishy lead set overall. Mickey gonna try to find something. Goes for the kick back. He's next to the list. They're taking names. Jeskla tries to get one back in return. Mickey, the hero moment, potential to turn this one around, but he can't get past the wind wall. Goes down. GA procs. It's a brief moment, but he's already dead. The flash forward. Nemesis wants a little bit more. Mickey tries to find a way out, but Fnatic just destroying Excel in these exchanges. Nemesis will grab one more. It's a free Baron for Fnatic.
And that's going to be it. Jeskla tried to put on his best hero performance. He tried to stand his ground, do what he could, but again, there's too many damage threats from Fnatic. Before that fight even opened up, the barrel just chunked Excel, and they just got walked through.
Very clean execution. And this is the stage of the game that you did not want to let Fnatic be comfortable in. Teamfights just consistently going in the favor of this Fnatic squad. And they grab the Baron, going to reset 7k gold lead. the Infernal as well. It's going to be double Infernal for Fnatic as you take a look back at this Pro View replay. The Casio cleaning up the fight.
And Casio, her ability to stick to you and chase you down, obviously, we haven't seen her in a hot minute in this meta, but it's exceptionally strong. Nemesis has done really good. I like his fadeaway ultimate in the back half of this fight. He doesn't tag Jessica with it, but he does get the slow. Excuse me, he doesn't tag the stun with it, but he does get the slow.
And just a lot of foresight. Very often people get tunnel vision on a single target, but it felt like Nemesis always knew what he needed to be doing in that fight. The second someone went to Zayas, he moved on to the next target, knew his team would finish off. And overall, just a good team fight for Fnatic, proving they still have that strength, showing us more flexibility with this Corki, and proving themselves worthy of the title favorite in this matchup.
This is one of Ender's favorite things to talk about, how Hilly uses Pyke versus some of our other Pyke players in the LEC. Hilly loves to use the mobility, and yeah, this Pyke has changed where he doesn't have the same wave clear options as previous Pyke does, but he loves empowering these side lane minions with the Baron buff and creating multiple points of pressure on the map for Fnatic.
Rather than grouping the team, I like it. Keeps another point, can very easily move between the top and mid lane now at this stage. Reckless has a similar luxury. Of course, he does have the TP up and available, but also has the package. If he needs to come mid lane for a team fight, he can be there in an instant.
And this is one of the nice things about Corki versus kind of like his brother in crime in Azir, is that it's much easier for Corki to play multiple side lanes than it is for Azir because of his mobility, not just with the package, but in general with the Valkyrie and his ability to wave clear very quickly without having to set up soldiers and then immediately kite towards his team.
Tier 2's dropping left and right. One left on the top side in favor of Excel. But an 8K gold lead for Oscar, and things going from bad to worse very quickly. We talked about how Excel can get into this game. They were pretty close early on, but now, what is their out?
Well,
this is a Corki,
it's
a Casio, and a GP. Like, how do you kill these champions?
It's getting really dire. I actually really want to compliment Fnatic and how they're keeping pressure up with this Baron. Using Reckless's TP, he went from bottom, he backed, spent his gold, and now has TP'd into the top lane. And it just feels like Fnatic are able to maintain pressure. There's never a moment that they're wasting with this Baron.
Coming in, Jessica incredibly low already. Beautiful Casio step will stop the engagement in its tracks. Jessica, though, too low to make it into the fight. Whippo just shredding through the XL lineup. Fighting off more than they can chew. Fight on the bottom side as well. K-Draw has to flash out to safety. Another tower is dropping. Fnatic are just walking into the base of Excel. They're making it look too easy. They are simply too far ahead. 10K gold lead. Maybe an opportunity for Excel to turn this one. But Fnatic just disengage.
Jessica trying to zone out Reckless, but as we've said, there's just too many damage threats. So yeah, Jessica wasn't in the fight, but he's basically all of the damage, all of the gold for Excel. The rest of his team loses on the top side of the fight. Interesting.
As we move later in the game, I'm wondering, are we ever going to see the theoretical wombo combo for Oscar? The stolen GP ult, followed immediately by a stolen Casio ult, followed immediately by a stolen Pyke ult.
I mean, what you're asking for is the miracle. Yeah, it's potentially there. We've seen how much damage and how squishy Fnatic's comp can be if you get a hold of them. The issue is trying to get a hold of them and how far ahead they are right now.
And of course, for Excel, if they lose this game, they're technically not out of playoff contention, but it becomes even more unlikely than it already is. Incredibly difficult road ahead for this lineup. And Fnatic, of course, fighting still for second place. The all-important bye.
I mean, depending on who dies in this next kind of skirmish, this could be the end of the game for Excel. They need to make sure that if they pick their moment, they have to pick the absolute perfect one, because a single mistake here where multiple members die, if you don't have the wave clear, it's game over.
Good ball now used, though. They're going to be exposed.
Look at Jessica's health bar. That single rocket from Corki took about 25% of his HP.
Hylissang now sees an opportunity. He's going to throw out the hook, turns it onto the Nautilus, and an immediate flash forced. And Fnatic are just slowly but surely bleeding Excel out of this game, taking away every small advantage they can before they go for the kill.
Yeah, made sure that they shoved into the top wave. They're now using that pressure as mid and bot are being shoved in. Hilly now has access into this inhib, and I think it's good night, Sweet Prince. There's one.
Hylissang leading to charge, so 2 inhibs currently down.
And look at how respectful Reckless is being, knowing that his team has gone over, push it down, he just backs up, waited for his team to join him into the mid lane.
GP also zone off, combined with the Casio Miasma, making sure there's no clean path to the fight. Whippo distracting the rest of the team on the backside. Excel trying desperately to find a fight, but they cannot. Tower gone down. Hylissang now looking for an opportunity to go in. They don't have a tower here to defend them. If the fight kicks off, it'll definitely be in the favor of Fnatic. They're just going to grab another inhibitor. 3 inhibs down. Fnatic don't even need to spill a drop of blood overall. They just walk away.
I mean, you don't need to, but you've locked Excel into their base. They're going to be on minion clearing duty at this point. The saving grace is that the Elder isn't spawning because the dragons were taken. You have to go through a single cloud, but you're looking at the Baron. That timer's about to come up 40 seconds, and that's what Fnatic are looking for. This is the last dance for Excel. Manage to get into a position where you can leave your base, possibly contest that, or you let Fnatic have the free Baron, and you just kind of slowly wait for them to march in.
And what's brutal is there's just not a lot for Excel to do right now other than try to lay down what vision they can. There's pings onto the top wave, but Cadril desperately needs level 16. I feel like they have to give him something.
I think you have to be put in a position where you clear out the waves as quickly as you can, you buy and spend, get as strong as you can for this single fight, and then you either race and create a trap, or you try to maybe catch Fnatic off the Baron. It depends on how late these backs are. If Excel are like, okay, we can get there in time and try to fight here one last time. I mean, they're assist pinging, but with Cadril backing, I think they're just going to sack it. I think they're going to wait for Fnatic to march in with Baron.
Oh, Cadril, though, doesn't look like he's going to get the chance to weigh. This is going to be it. The Baron's down. Cadril's dead. There is no way Excel win this game. Fnatic taking the victory lap as they walk into the base. Excel maybe, through a miracle, out-executing or a mistake from Fnatic, they could find this, but it is not looking likely.
Oh, no. He hooked the wall.
Dashes in and out from Mickey. Looks cool, but will not amount to much. Now pinned to the corner, tries to use Broxa as an escape. Jetco leaps forward onto Reckless, tries to get something back. Reckless now unstoppable. The rest of the fight kicks off. Nemesis going for the 2v1 in the midst of everything. Zoning expect out. That's it. Fnatic moving in with confidence. An absolutely dominant game for the team. A bit rocky in the early game, no doubt, but absolute control in the mid to late game. Excel did not stand a chance, and even their fountain may not be enough to save them. Fnatic take the win.
Just a couple of missteps from Fnatic into the mid-game. Again, we're talking about that fine-tuning coming into the playoffs. Felt like it got a bit scattered when we were playing around the top side of the map for that top tower, but the big beneficiary of that was Bwipo. He had 2 levels over his opponent at some case. He had massive amounts of gold. One of the most expensive builds into the game, and once Bwipo was ready, it was kind of lights out for Excel. They were able to walk into any team fight with Corki and Gangplank, blow everyone up. Nemesis made sure that there was going to be no threat to the backline, because if you dove in, you're diving into the Cassiopeia.
And honestly, there just was not a single champion you could ignore on the side of Fnatic in a fight. Not a champion you could gloss over. The potential for resets from the Pike, for engages from the Lee Sin, and as you mentioned, the raw damage output of a hilariously fed Gangplank, a Cassio, and a Corki. Overall, hugely dominant performance from Fnatic, and while they did struggle in the previous weeks, it appears that they are ready to fight. You saw their upcoming schedule: Vitality, Splice, Rogue, the last 3 games standing in front of them. Splice, their #1 opponent when it comes to looking for that top 2 position.
And that feels like it's going to be the big matchup. You know, who truly is the second best team? Have Fnatic fixed their problems, ironed everything out? Are they going to run full speed into Splice, or will Splice stand their ground and finally slay what feels like big brother Fnatic to them?
Well, honestly, after that game,
yeah, that hurts.
I'd be nervous.
So the replay right there, Mystique's, I mean, that's the only option that Excel have. They try to hide in Fog of War. They want to come around the corner. He's looking for the dredge line. Didn't even notice that Nemesis flashes that wall and absolutely deletes 2 members. But dredge line connects with the wall. They don't get the pick. Fnatic then just open up on them.
And honestly, just a monster performance from Nemesis and the team as a whole. Hylissang as well. Very difficult for me to pick an MVP in this game.
I think you have to do Bwipo, Nemesis definitely are in it, and then you either choose
Hylissang,
between
I mean, like,
Brox or Hilly.
Don't get me wrong, it's not like the cleanest KDA of all time, but you talked about it yourself. There's like 3 or 4 picks in the mid game that it was just solo Hylissang making stuff happen. And also Splice. Hi.
I think it's probably going to be Bwipo. It's going to be my guess.
All right, well, your options are Bwipo, Nemesis, and Reckless. You can choose one of the 3 sources of murder on the side of Fnatic. Huge damage sources. I actually don't know. It's really hard. Nemesis or Bwipo for me personally, but you guys can pick whatever you want at home.
Sometimes
try to influence you.
it's really hard to appreciate everything that Reckless does well. Yeah, he was putting out lots of damage right there, but I think it's kind of like how defensive and when Reckless picks his moments that always impresses me with him. He never kind of forces himself, gets picked off, and I think a lot of people try to say that he's just like a KDA player, and I think that's kind of the nature of how defensively he can play it, but his back timer is always really well. He knows where to stand into a team fight, and I think it's kind of like the invisible intangibles of other AD carries would get caught where Reckless does not.
Yeah, high praise for Reckless, and I think a good performance from him overall, but to get more insight on the race for playoffs, let's check in with Medic.
Thank you very much, Dracos. Now, the playoffs race is very much alive for a lot of our teams, but let's have a look at who has locked in already. As you can see, as when we get up the standings in just a second's time, G2, Fnatic, Splyce, and Schalke have all locked in their top spots, and they'll be fighting in the playoff race. Now, no one else is actually locked out of playoffs as of yet. It's going to be very hard for Misfits and Excel to get into playoffs after their losses today, but there are scenarios in which they could make it, although they rely on a lot of the teams ahead of them losing all their games and on Misfits and Excel winning all their games for the rest of the split. Now, what I really want to talk about has to focus around the middle of the league, and that's 6th place spot. Origin and Rogue, both of them fighting just on the cusp of the playoff mark, and the next 2 games are vital for these 2 teams' hopes. Origin play up against Splyce next, and if they can take that win, they give themselves just that little bit more cushion over Rogue, who played G2 in our final game of the day, and a game they are probably expected to lose. Now, Origin and Rogue do play each other next week on the first day, and that could be the deciding match to see who gets that 6th spot. In Europe, of course, we are all fans of ties, and I'm very afraid to tell you that with our new head-to-head rules and with our rules about wins in the second half of the split, because Fnatic won in 82.7% of scenarios now, we have no tiebreakers. We'll have no tiebreaker games. I know it's a disappointment for a lot of you out there, but it does mean we get our teams decided by the end of the regular season. Now, up next is Origin against Splyce. It's a massive game for Origin and for Splyce in that battle for 2nd place. We'll see who wins out after this break.